What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Short Podcast. Today, we're not going to talk about a career. We're going to talk about a timeline. A timeline of what should have been an incredible journey, but became a story of immense, unimaginable tragedy. We're talking about Yann Gueho, a man whose raw talent was so blinding that people compared him to the greatest players of all time. But unlike them, he has no professional career to speak of. His story is so obscure that, as far as we can tell, the only real source of information about his life is an in-depth article by Stuart James in The Athletic. A massive thank you to him for sharing his story with the world. Our story begins at the very beginning, with a kid who was simply born with a gift. His first coach, Jean-François Godin, said, "A good fairy was bent over his cradle." His family, who were into handball and track, even tried to discourage him from playing football by hiding his trainers. But it didn't matter. He'd just play in his socks. At the age of 5, Yann was already an exceptionally talented tennis player, but he couldn't control his emotions, breaking rackets, and even vomiting after his first defeat. By the time he was 9, he was so disruptive at school that he was seeing a psychologist once a week. His coaches couldn't believe what they were seeing. Reda Bekti, a coach at Paris FC, said no one taught Yann anything. He was born with it, and until now, he has never seen a better player, individually, technically, and athletically. At his first club, Charenton, Yann would do keepy-uppies for so long that his coach had to tell him to stop. He played with a feeling, like a free player. His coach at US Créteil Lusitanos, El Haddad Hamidi, said he never gave Yann tactics or instructions. He just let him play because you couldn't control him. Hamidi himself said Yann was better than Kylian Mbappé. His behavior was as audacious as his play. He would walk off the pitch after nutmegging the same player 3 times. During a trial for Clairefontaine, the prestigious national training center, he refused to play unless the coach put him in his favorite position. The coach caved, and Yann was outstanding. On another occasion, he refused to take off his tracksuit bottoms because it was cold. His teammate, Damien Dussault, recalls the coach saying he couldn't play, to which Yann replied, "Okay, I don't play, no problem." After 5 minutes, the coach relented and let him play in the tracksuit bottoms because he knew Yann could win the game alone. But the problem was that no one could tame him. He was expelled from Clairefontaine before he even completed his first year. Lille had him for only 4 months before they had enough. His mother, Anne-Marie, recounts how at 13, at Lille, he dragged his mattress into a friend's room because he didn't want to sleep alone. She took him to a psychologist who, according to Anne-Marie, prescribed medication without disclosing the diagnosis, a drug for bipolarity. Then came Chelsea. In the summer of 2009, Chelsea scout Guy Hillian recommended Yann to the club. To convince his family, Chelsea gave them a house in London and agreed to pay school fees for all 4 children. Yann's mother says the club's message to them was that Yann was like Jesus. On the pitch, he was the same genius. His teammates were in awe. Alex Davey recalls a game against Norwich where Yann did a rainbow flick over a player's head, came back inside, and slotted it in. Another teammate, John Swift, said he used to demand the ball from corners, even though they hadn't practiced short corners, just to dribble past a defender with a crazy trick. There was even a story that he went to train with the first team at 14 or 15 years old and was taking the piss out of players like Ricardo Carvalho and Michael Ballack, nutmegging them and embarrassing them. Jeremy Boga recalls a youth game against Arsenal, where Yann walked up to his brother on the touchline and promised to do 3 nutmegs for him, and he did it. But off the pitch, it was a different story. The Academy's progress report described his behavior as sporadic and noted that he had a strong personality that led to him being challenged by the coaching staff on certain occasions. He would get into fights, even with railway staff at the local train station. A simple game of table tennis could end with a bat being thrown across the room. His coach, Adi Viveash, said that Yann's persona off the pitch was his persona on the pitch. In April 2011, a brawl with a trialist was one misdemeanor too many, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Chelsea decided to let him go. His mother says they had done all that was possible. The fall was immediate. Nantes signed him that summer, but their patience ran out after 3 months due to his behavior. On his 17th birthday, 6 months after leaving Chelsea, Yann walked into a perfume store and committed a robbery. He refused to give up his accomplice and took more months in prison for it. Anne-Marie says prison dismayed them, and she admits they were ashamed. But even in prison, his talent shone through. French rappers who were incarcerated with him later gave interviews about his football ability. He was given preferential treatment, allowed to do sport whenever he wanted, and he was even in charge of picking his prison's team for games against outside clubs. In one game, he scored a hat-trick against a fifth-tier French club, and the opposition manager asked if there was a way to get him out to play for them. However, in December 2012, he was involved in another robbery. The following March, he physically assaulted a man and attacked the police. He spent the next 21 months in prison. He had one last shot at redemption at Paris FC at the end of 2014. A coach there, Alexandre Monnier, said that even though Yann was walking on the pitch and looking at the sky, he could still perform like a top professional. He was still the most talented player Monnier had ever seen, better than Benzema, Nkunku, and Mbappe, but it didn't last. By the end of 2016, at the age of 22, Yann was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. His mother, Anne-Marie, believes that his time in prison and his drug use totally destroyed him and exacerbated his condition. She says knowing about this earlier would have changed everything. Chris Liboe, a former teammate, said Yann was a player who needed love, he needed affection, and that the relationship with the coach was like a father and son for him. Today, Yann is a man struggling with depression and really weird thoughts, who has been in and out of prison and even a psychiatric hospital. He can't live at home with his parents anymore because of the past police raids. He has not kicked a ball for 7 years. In 2022, the article said that he now goes to watch his brother Lou Diwan play for Paris FC, and he gives him objective analysis on his performance. His mother says the family's dream now is simply happiness. This is a story that goes beyond football. It's a story about a kid who is a genius on the field, but a misunderstood and troubled person off it. It shows us that incredible talent isn't a shield against life's biggest challenges. If you feel for Yann and his family, and you want to hear more stories like this, please give us a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.